at least 3 landmark judgments of the courts when the governors concerned acted in gross violation of the Constitution in Arunachal Pradesh in 2016, in Uttarakhand in 2016, and in Karnataka in 2019. Despite these judgments and the statements of law, the governor of Rajasthan has stalled and continues to stall a perfectly valid request of the Council of Ministers of Rajasthan to convene a session of the Legislative Assembly. It is settled law that the governor shall act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. The governor has no discretion, let me repeat, no discretion at all in the matter. The questions that the governor had raised to stall the request were irrelevant and beyond his authority. His current stand, that the law gives him a discretion to summon the assembly or not, is a complete distortion of the law declared by the courts. The fundamental basis of a parliamentary democracy is a functioning legislature. If the executive government wants the legislature to meet, it has the absolute right and authority to call a session. The governor is only a formal instrument, and I repeat, the governor is only a formal instrument to sign and issue the summons to the MLAs. If a chief minister who is accused of not enjoying a majority wants to prove his majority, he is entitled to call a session at the earliest to prove his majority. No one can stand in his way. Placing any obstacle to calling the session would undermine the fundamental basis of a parliamentary democracy. We are astonished and anguished by the attitude of the governor of Rajasthan. We are therefore protesting today before all Raj Bhavans in the country to highlight the gravity of the issue and draw the people's attention to the violations of the Constitution. We sincerely hope that the governor of Rajasthan will obey the law and only the law. He must remember that he has no other masters except the Constitution and the law. He must immediately grant the request of the Council of Ministers and summon a session of the Legislative Assembly of Rajasthan. I'm prepared to take questions.
Thank you, sir. I will request friends to please ask your questions. Rakesh Kapoorji, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good day, Mr. Chidambaram. My question is, yes, sir. If governor doesn't respect the decision of the cabinet, of his respective state government cabinet, then what is the remedy? And where is the remedy? Who should step in? Either the president or it is the central cabinet, then where is the remedy, sir?
See, constitutional authorities function according to the law. There is a remedy. The Council of Ministers of the Centre, the Home Minister, the Prime Minister can send word to the governor, please call a session. Obviously, the President of India, the Rashtrapati, has the absolute authority to tell the governor what you're doing is wrong and please call a session. Now, I can only hope that the Rashtrapati will intervene in the matter and instruct the governor to call a session. If failing constitutional authorities, and I don't want to come to any premature conclusion at this stage, if failing the constitutional authorities, then I think one has to explore legal remedies. But that is for the lawyers advising Mr. Ashok Gahlot to tell him what to do. I'm sure they are looking into the matter after the governor's latest communication, asserting that he has a discretion in the matter. Let me repeat, He has no discretion in the matter. Who did the governor? The governor should consult the Advocate General of Rajasthan. Has he consulted the Advocate General of Rajasthan? Can he place before the public any written opinion given by any competent law officer suggesting that he has a discretion to convene or not to convene? I don't think anyone acquainted with the law will give him such an advice. The law is very clear. Just look at Nabam Rebia's case, 2016, Volume 8, Supreme Court Cases, page 1, and please see paragraphs 162 to 167 and 276. The governor has no discretion in the matter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'll move to the next question, sir. Sunil Prabhu wants to ask a question. I'll come to you, Sandeep.
Sir, I just want to know, you spelled out that there is the possibility of now, if the governor does not act, a legal strategy. But just want to understand the fact that, today you withdrew your case in the Supreme Court. You want to file a fresh case. It looks like, because in the light of the various statements and orders that have come from the Rajasthan High Court, what exactly, because there is a clear pattern. This has happened in Madhya Pradesh, in Goa, and in various other places. So what exactly is the Congress party in terms of a strategy wanting to do to save the Rajasthan government, or do you feel that there is all these institutions, be it the role of the governor, the role of the center, and various other agencies, will not allow you to and continue to give them the time that they require?
Some institutions have failed. I don't want to get into the details, but I still believe that not all institutions will always fail. Sometime or other, they have to wake up back. There is a constitution of India. Now, I'm not advising Mr. Gahlot on the legal strategy. He has very competent, top-notch lawyers advising him, and I'm sure they will advise him on a legal strategy. I can only point out that I still believe that the President of India can intervene and instruct the governor to call a session. The law is very clear. It's in simple English. If you and I can understand, I'm sure everyone can understand. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'll move to the next one. Syed from IANS.
Sir, regarding governor's position, do you think now there is a time to revisit governor's post and Congress should demand it, because all the governors are acting on behest of the union government as the party has alleged?
You see, what is the point of raising a larger debate about the usefulness of governors? Governors have their usefulness, but no one would have imagined that governors will make them so useful to the ruling party. It's obvious that in Arunachal Pradesh, in Uttarakhand, in Karnataka, and in several other places, Manipur, Goa, the governors have acted simply as instruments of the political party ruling at the center, the BJP. It's one after another. I don't believe there has been a 5 or 6 year period when so many governors have violated the constitution. And there are 3 judgments which have come down on them heavily. What you are doing is wrong. What you did is wrong. In fact, they restored the status quo ante in one case. They directed the session to be called within 24 to 48 hours in the other 2 cases. Yet the governors, if a governor acts shamelessly, what is it I can do? I can only express my anguish and my astonishment. I still hope that better counsel will prevail and wise people will instruct the governor of Rajasthan that he must summon a session of the assembly.
Thank you, sir. Sanjeev Trivedi from News 24. Unmute yourself, Sanjeev ji. Unmute kariye. Yes.
Sir, my question actually focuses on the political aspect of it. There are forces which are trying to save Sachin Pilot's membership, and as you know, there is every possibility that if he defies the whip again and the session is called, he and his supporters might lose the membership. So there are forces which are trying to protect him. My question is it that Congress party has lost all hope of winning Sachin Pilot and his supporters back? I ask you this because you are also supposed to have talked to Mr. Pilot.
Well, I'm not denying I spoke to him. That was many, many days ago. I have not spoken to him in the last 10 days or so. He has not called me either. So I don't know where he stands today, except that it seems to me, that's my personal view, he seems to me entirely in the embrace of the BJP. In fact, he should be the first to stand up and say, please call a session of the assembly. And then we will know which party he belongs to and what he will do. He's maintained that he belongs to the Congress party. He maintains that Mr. Gahlot has lost his majority. So he should actually join the Congress party, telling the governor and everyone else, please call a session. What he will do in the session is his decision. But why is he silent about calling a session? Now, Congress party's position is a session must be called. The BJP's position, according to the delegation that met the governor of Rajasthan, is this is not an occasion to call a session. Now, where does Mr. Pilot stand? And why is Mr. Pilot silent on calling a session or not? I think we should put the question to Mr. Pilot. It'll be very useful to know what his answer is.
Thank you, sir. I'll move to the next one. Jainin from ABP wants to ask a question. Jainin ji.
जी थैंक यू सर। चिदम्बरम सर, मेरा दो सवाल है। पहला तो ये कि आपने कहा कि आपको उम्मीद है कि राष्ट्रपति हस्तक्षेप करेंगे इस मामले में, तो क्या कांग्रेस पार्टी राष्ट्रपति के पास जाने को लेकर के कोई योजना बना रही है? सवाल नंबर एक। और सवाल नंबर दो कि आपने कहा कि अगर विश्वास मत हासिल करने के लिए मुख्यमंत्री विधानसभा का सत्र बुलाना चाहते हैं तो राज्यपाल को विधानसभा का सत्र बुलाना चाहिए, लेकिन राज्यपाल को जो प्रस्ताव दिया गहलोत कैबिनेट ने दोनों ही बार विश्वास मत हासिल करने को लेकर के कोई बात उस प्रस्ताव में नहीं कही गई थी। तो अगर कांग्रेस सरकार विश्वास मत हासिल करना चाहती है विधानसभा सत्र बुलाकर, तो इसका जिक्र कैबिनेट के प्रस्ताव में क्यों नहीं है? दो बार क्यों नहीं रहा, जो दो बार राज्यपाल को भेजा गया और जिसको लेकर राज्यपाल ने भी सवाल उठाए हैं सोर्सेस के मुताबिक? काइंडली सर इस पर जवाब दें, और अगर प्रणव सर से मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि इसको ट्रांसलेट कर दें प्लीज।
I've understood the first question.
Thank you, sir.
The gist of the second question.
Okay. Should I tell you the second question? Sir, he's
Yes.
asking. Sir, he's asking that you say that the governor should not intervene if the chief minister is willing to prove his majority. So he's asking in both his request to the governor, why hasn't he mentioned that he wants to prove his majority?
No. All right, I'll answer both questions. As far as the first question is concerned, I'm not in Delhi. I'm far away. So I don't know what the next step the leadership is contemplating. I gave my opinion that the president certainly has the authority to instruct the governor to follow the constitution. So what the Congress party will do, I don't know, but perhaps they will reveal it in due course. On the second question, the charge is that Mr. Gahlot does not have a majority. Mr. Gahlot in the letter to the governor, has said, my council of ministers has resolved to call a session of the assembly. But he has publicly said that he will prove his majority on the floor of the house. That he does not have to say in the governor's letter to the governor. In fact, all that he has to say is the council of ministers wishes as resolved that the assembly should be convened. That's the end of the matter. The governor has no business to ask him what agenda, how many days, how many hours. All that is irrelevant. See, parliamentary democracy is on the basis of functioning legislature, not a sleeping legislature, not an absent legislature. When the legislature is called to meet, it must meet. The British House of Commons meets practically throughout the year. The US Congress meets practically throughout the year, except during the holiday period. So the more the assembly meets, everybody should be happy. That is the living symbol of a functioning parliamentary democracy, a legislative party which is meeting, legislative assembly which is meeting as often as possible. So the governor should be very happy that the legislative assembly is being called to meet. And Mr. Gahlot has made it clear he will prove his majority. If somebody wants to bring a no confidence motion, they can bring it against him. If he wants to move a confidence motion, he can move a confidence motion. If there is a bill, you can vote for, you can vote against. But let the House meet. Does one have to explain why the House should meet?
Thank you, sir. I'll move to the next one. Bilal from Swaraj Express. Bilalji.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chidambaram. This is Bilal Sabzwari.
Yes.
Sir, as you just yourself mentioned in the past incident, the way the Congress-led government was pulled by the state government or by the central government. So it seems to be more issue of the political intention. See, the way you people have been putting pressure across the country by making a protest. So in such case, do you think Rajasthan is also going to happen the same the central government did with the other Congress state in past? So what final option is left when the intention of the political authorities, especially of PMO, is absolutely clear?
Well, I'm glad you say that. The intention is obviously a bad intention. It's an ill intention to pull down opposition governments. But we will resist it. We will resist it in every way. Mr. Gahlot has asserted he has a majority. A majority government cannot be pulled down. If you want to test his majority, please call the Legislative Assembly. Mr. Gahlot is ready to face the Assembly. But all this, if the powers that be think that the people are not watching all this, the people are not noting all these things, they are wrong. People are watching, people are noting. They may appear helpless at the moment, but they will not be helpless always. But we will continue to resist in every way any attempt to pull down a lawfully elected majority government.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Preeti Bhardwaj from Sahara TV.
Good afternoon, sir. Preeti this side from Sahara. Actually,
Yes.
I need to ask you a question. Don't you believe judiciary even now? Because you people applied in Supreme Court, but just before it was expected for the hearing today at 11, the application was taken back. So don't you people now expect any sort of relief from judiciary as well? Or the Congress party is planning something else on the matter?
Well, frankly, I don't know. As I said, I'm not in Delhi. I decided to address this press conference at very short notice. See, I think the heads have been put together, must have been put together before they decided to withdraw the SLP in the Supreme Court because the governor was citing a lame excuse. The matter is pending in the Supreme Court. What is pending in the Supreme Court has nothing to do with the calling the assembly. So that lame excuse is no longer available to the governor. So no, nothing is pending in the Supreme Court. Now, what has happened now is a completely new issue. a governor refusing to call an assembly when the Council of Ministers has formally asked him, please issue the summons for the assembly. This is a completely new issue, a new situation. Now, what legal remedies are available? I'm sure the legal personalities, eminent legal persons advising Mr. Gahlot will advise him. And I'm sure he will take his advice from his advocate general also.
Thank you, sir. Sandeep Fukan from The Hindu.
Sir, since you mentioned about the president, I just wanted to know, does the president enjoy discretion on this matter, or does he need to consult the central government before ordering the governor to convene the assembly session?
As far as I can see, the president has to simply advise the Home Ministry, please tell your governor to call a session, which is virtually an instruction. According to me, he can also pick up the phone and tell the governor, the law is very clear, please call the session. What the president will do, I cannot say. He's the highest constitutional authority in the country, and we have great respect for the office. But I sincerely hope that the president will take note of what's happening, the erosion of parliamentary democracy, the erosion of the constitution, the violation of the constitution, and do what is right in the circumstances.
Thank you, sir. Anand Patil from the India Today.
Sir, a couple of days you tweeted that the High Court cannot intervene unless and until the Speaker has taken a decision, has taken an action or a decision. Do you think that by joining the arguments or by going to the High Court, the Gahlot camp, made a mistake, that they went to the court and then, the entire thing went against them? Was it a tactical error? Would you call that?
See, my friend, this is hindsight. The law is clear. 5 judges in 1992 declared the law that no quiet time at action is possible. No court can intervene until the Speaker takes it. It's in plain English language. Now, when one goes to court, one goes in the belief that a 5-judge bench's judgment of the Supreme Court, which is binding on all authorities in all courts, will be followed. But then you find out to your deep regret that it is not followed. In hindsight, how can you say you should not go to court? The law was very clear from 1992. In fact, I was amused when presumably a BJP Bhakt replies to my tweet and says, oh, that is 1992. We are in 2020. What kind of an argument is that? The fact that that has been the law for 28 years, stood the test of 28 years and many, many situations, means that is the law. That law can only be changed or modified by another larger bench of the Supreme Court. I mean, that's the way I was trained in law school, and I have practiced law for the last, I don't know now, nearly 50 years. I can't believe that a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court, which says in clear, simple English, will not be followed by a High Court. Now, today we can say by hindsight, that should not have been done, this should not have been done. But our sight is on the judgment, and we believe that the judgment was binding on everyone.
Thank you, sir. Raman Jha from News 24.
सर, मेरा सवाल सो मोटो पे नहीं है. मेरा सवाल इस पे है कि 2019 लोकसभा इलेक्शन राफेल के मुद्दे पे भी लड़ा गया था और 5 राफेल विमान वो भारत आ रहा है. तो क्या कांग्रेस पार्टी इसका स्वागत करती है?
Why should we protest against a Rafale aircraft? And remember, day one we said Rafale is a good aircraft. In fact, it was chosen by the UPA government. There's nothing wrong with the aircraft. There were other issues in the way the contract was handled. Other issues in the ways when what is that called? The Indian producer will take advantage of a certain proportion of the value for providing export services. Those were the issues. There was no issue about the Rafale aircraft. The Rafale aircraft was evaluated and approved by the UPA government. We welcome the Rafale aircraft.
Thank you, sir. Siddharth from ANI.
Good evening, sir. So my question is to you, sir. The Congress party is taking this Rajasthan issue at the national level, and it looks like a battle between the BJP ruling government and the Congress party. But why you people are not approaching to the other opposition parties, and why opposition parties are not there in the support of the Congress party? Because there are so many states also where is a tussle going on between the chief minister and the governor.
Well, as I said, I'm not in Delhi. I do not know whether any of our party leaders or office bearers have approached opposition parties. I don't know.
Okay, sir. I'll move to the next one. Premanshu from Anand Bazar Patrika.
Hello, sir. Sir, you are Home Minister in the central government, and actually Governor reports to the Home Ministry. So how do you see the role of Home Ministry here in the Governor role in Rajasthan? How do you see the role of Home Ministry?
You see, every Home Minister has two roles. One is he's Home Minister, another is he's the leader of the party. In this case, you know who is the Home Minister. So I don't know which face he wears when he talks to the governor or when the governor talks to him. But as Home Minister, I would seriously doubt whether he has given a written instruction or written note telling the governor not to call an assembly session. I don't think as Home Minister he would have put it down in writing. But in his other capacity, I don't know what he did. I don't know. So I should not speculate. It won't be fair.
Okay, sir. Sunil Prabhu wanted to ask another question. Sunil ji.
Sir, today Rahul Gandhi had, given his version of the Indo-China thing and says we can go to, his career can go to a hell if required, but he won't lie. You have also been Home Minister, and you also seen that there are different perceptions on the LAC. In this context, these statements from Rahul Gandhi, how do you view it? And wouldn't it have been better to consult the former foreign ministers, former defense ministers within the party to give a good approach, coordinated approach on these important matters?
No. Consult on what matter? I didn't catch your first part.
So he has been speaking, as you're well aware, for the last few days on the India-China conflict, on India's foreign policy and everything else, and making a political point, which is very strong about India's territory and everything else. And there is also, as you know, differing perceptions about the line of actual control between India and China. And this does not date back to UPA regime, but it dates back to British India and Tibet and the Chinese government at that time, as you're well aware. So in this context, Mr. Rahul Gandhi continuing to say what he does, there are many within your own party who are saying that it's high time that he consult former defense ministers, former external affairs ministers within the party, and then give a coordinated approach so that it is not possible to be criticized, attacked, and contradicted by the opposition party. It should be based on facts. For example, the port in Sri Lanka, that was a decision of your government. But ultimately, it led to, the foreign minister, Mr. Jaishankar, to point that out. So it's in that context that I'm asking this question, that today he says, I don't care if my career goes to hell, but I can't lie, which is well-intentioned, but you understand the political implications. And what's your response to that?
No. What makes you think that he's not consulting his colleagues? I mean, these are assumptions you are making. I can't make those assumptions. He may have consulted the former foreign ministers within the party, former defense ministers within the party. He may have consulted.
Did he consult you?
I was never foreign minister. You said foreign minister and defense
No,
minister.
but I'm saying you're a home minister. You would know the perceptions. Were you consulted?
He has spoken to me some time ago about China, and I have shared my views with him. And I'm also writing and tweeting on China. So why do you assume that we are all working in silos, that we don't talk to our colleagues? I talk to my colleagues. I talk to other experts. I talk to former NSAs. I talk to former foreign ministry officials before I write and before I tweet. We may be right, we may be wrong, but to accuse us of acting in splendid isolation is wrong. I think we always consult. Anyway, I do, and I'm sure he has spoken to his colleagues and other experts on the subject.
Okay, sir. I'll take the last question. Samia from Times Now.
Hello, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask you that the manner in which there were raids carried out in the close relatives of the Rajasthan Chief Minister's places while this matter was being debated in the court was something that had almost not come as a surprise to the Congress party, because they've always maintained that the CBI, ED, and IT are, they are definitely helping the BJP out as their ally partners. So how do you see these raids, the timing of these raids also? And my second question to you will be, which is not from the suo motu, is about a tweet from your colleague, Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, on the Ayodhya Shiranyas, the stone laying foundation that is taking place. He has urged upon the organizers to invite the former Chief Justice, Mr. Gogoi, because he was instrumental in this entire verdict that came about it, through which now Ayodhya Mandir is being constructed. He just tweeted a short while back when the press conference was on, sir.
Well, I don't know about the tweet, and you can always ask my friend Adhir. You can pick up the phone and talk to him and what he meant by that. I don't want to comment on that. As far as the raids and searches are concerned, no less a person than Mr. Ashok Gahlot has said that these three agencies are being used to intimidate Congress ministers and Congress MLAs. Now, what should I add to that? The Chief Minister himself is on record that they are using these agencies to intimidate Congress MLAs and Congress ministers. But he also said, we will not be intimidated. I have always maintained that there's no reason to fear these agencies, that these agencies have become willing tools of the government is very, very unfortunate. But there's no reason to fear these agencies or feel intimidated. If one is walking on the right path, one must walk with the head held high, whatever the consequences. People are watching, and people will decide at the appropriate time.
Okay, sir.
Is that all?
Yes, sir. We have come to the end of questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, friends, all of you. Be
Thank
safe.
you, sir. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Just look at that parliament dominated by the BJP and its alliance. alliance partners. Just look at the way it crosses the halfway mark, and the other parties, the Congress on the extreme left in blue, the AIDMK, the TMC and the BJD are tucked away in one corner. And of those alliance